everyone, Pineaaronapple here, back with the latest Ninth Doctor Adventures box set from Big Finish, Into the Stars, with Christopher Eccleston returning as the Ninth Doctor. This was released August of 2022, and honestly, kinda slipped under my radar. But here we are with 3 new stories, and with this series' track record, I am expecting good things. We even get a returning villain for our first story, so as eager as I am, let's get into the first story of the 3, Salvation 9. In Salvation 9, the Doctor arrives on a ship to force the leader of an attack squad to halt their invasion. The subject of this invasion? The Sontarans. Well, kind of. These Sontarans have gone back to nature and refer to themselves as the Niners. No war, no cloning, and no concept of battle tactics. So it's a race against the clock for the Doctor to show the attackers, who have been hurt, duped, and killed by Sontarans before, that these people mean no harm. There were a lot of interesting concepts in this story, such as old Sontarans, a female Sontaran, natural Sontaran breeding, natural intake of food, and much more, and I loved every second of it. It's not an amazing idea, but these ideas written by Timothy X Attack really interested me. The Doctor marvels at these changes, but is hesitant to trust the Niners, and that aspect is done well. It was only for a short time and felt like a natural suspicion after what this incarnation has been through. Eventually, though, he is on their side, going so far as to teach 2 of them to be Sontaran-like, and kidnap a Sontaran commander far away so that they can bring him to Salvation 9 and disown the Niners from the Sontaran Empire, giving proof to the attackers that they aren't the same as their ancestors. The peacefulness of the Niners, funnily enough, being disgusting and vile to the classic Sontaran. So let's talk characters. Christopher Eccleston was great here as the Doctor. The way he captured the Doctor's desperation, anger, and hope regarding how he viewed the Niners was fantastic, for lack of a better term. He sold me all the way with this one. There were a large number of normal Sontaran-like Niners, of course, played by the one and only Dan Starkey, who has not lost his touch. These Sontarans can be seen as dangerous, peaceful, or dumb. But his performance not falling into the trap that was how Moffat kept making Strax more and more unbelievably stupid. They were enjoyable, and I found their whimsy almost infectious. Another Sontaran in our cast was Gaznak, played by Josie Lawrence. I enjoyed her performance immensely here. She is an old and female Sontaran, or Niner, and is not only creatively funny, but also a standout among the Niners without feeling out of place. She helps the Doctor throughout the story, assisting him onto the battlefield to save her people, and introducing him around the village to see how they live. And our final big player is the leader of the attacking force that the Doctor tries to convince to back off, Narvak Al-Hanin, played by Pooja Shah, also seen in the Whoniverse in 2 episodes of Class. Narvak was fine. Honestly, probably the weak point of the story. We do get the feeling that she does hate the Sontarans for what they did to her people, and that's all well and good. But she's NTR'd from being a dynamic character by her subordinate, who we hear multiple times in the story, who is the one to eventually stop the assault on the Niners. But even if she had done it, she would probably still be an average character by the end anyway. So, those were my thoughts on Series 2, Episode 4, Salvation 9, an episode with good acting, great ideas, and while not wholly original, was filled to the brim with imaginative and creative ideas and directions to take the Sontarans in. I'll give Salvation 9 by Timothy X Attack a 7.5 out of 10. The next story is Last of the Zetacene, and this story makes me feel more divided than the last episode. First, let's talk about the story. So, on the Stage 3 spaceport, where rich people go to do rich people things, a group of 4 super rich people decide the fate of the last of the Zetacene swine on one of their rich card games, each wanting to do a different, horrible thing to it because they can. Whether it's hunting it as a trophy, eating and sniffing it, or something else. The Doctor arrives to get something for the TARDIS, but of course gets himself inserted into the story, and acts to do what he can to save the poor creature. He comes across the character I believe was called Nell, who is just a working girl trying to make her way in the universe, who we are introduced to as she accidentally assaults an obnoxious Spider-Woman while on the job, of course getting her fired. These two decide to infiltrate the rich game and cheat their way into winning the Zetacene, using her average acting skills and a little help from the sonic and psychic paper. Along the way, we learn that when one of the rich foursome die, the others divide up their assets and gain them. So, once the Zetacene is mysteriously released after the Doctor and Nell are chased by the rich people's goons, because you don't have to pay someone if they're dead, we see the Zetacene kill the rich assholes one by one in karmic ways. We learn that it was released by one of the players in order to kill the others and take all their riches. The Zetacene exacts revenge on all of them, the Doctor failing to subdue it and take it away. But it takes a liking to Nell, the two of them apparently deciding to leave in a Doctor and companion-like homage, being given the money that the players had pooled. So, the Doctor was still good here. He doesn't get much unique material to do, or have much motive other than save the endangered creature, but the performance is still pretty well done through the episode, just more plain from a writing and material standpoint. Nell, played by Alice Feetham, was nice as the story's companion substitute, being a social girl who loses her job and follows the Doctor to help and get paid at the same time. I enjoyed her for the most part, but she could come off as a little obnoxious every now and then. Like her average acting skills, or the running joke of asking if anyone knows a friend of hers, and then relaying a surface-level good vibes quote this friend told her. It does have a decent payoff, but it was still a little annoying and predictable through the episode. Then we also have our rich foursome. Succeeding, played by Nicholas Colicos, CeeLo, played by previous companion actor Maureen O'Brien, Luton, played by Joanne Pierce, and finally the guy who likes to smell everything and I can't remember the name of, but I was correct when I thought that the actor, Martin Ellis, previously played Headmaster Greg Blakeman, or Gloon Fex Fi's Charlevere Slam Slovene in the Sarah Jane Adventures. And wow, that name was a mouthful. These four each have their gimmick, used well in an ironic way as they're killed off, but they were also quite enjoyable to listen to. Sure, they are just a bunch of assholes, but they certainly had chemistry together and were written quite well, even if it did come off a little bit stereotypical. But as I said, enjoyable. So all up, this episode had a decent premise, enjoyable characters that could have been written better, but in spite of that, the performances were quite endearing and enjoyable. But it is far simpler than the last episode. So I'll have to give Last of the Zetacene, written by James Kettle, a 6.5 out of 10. The final episode of this box set is Break the Ice, where the Doctor appears on a space station research centre circling Venus, just in time to see Dr. Lenny Fisk's experimental cryotech being used on a human test subject. Lenny's research was incomplete, but money man Pal Andrews forced through the live test, the Doctor having to intervene to save the subject, Kenton. It's not long until we learn that Kenton was not what the Doctor brought back, but in fact, the cryotech had opened a doorway for the being Jack Frost to enter into the universe, having been born at the dawn of time, but in a parallel to the Doctor, now acting as the last of his species, or at least that's what the Ninth Doctor thinks of himself at this time. Frost takes over the station, and the Doctor, recognising the threat, sends both the TARDIS and the other half of the space station, the one with all the people, away to deal with Frost without the danger of innocents dying. So the Doctor, Lenny, and Pal fight Jack Frost across the station, using well set up plot points to stop him, and get away with Pal being the only unfortunate casualty in the moment, Although Frost did kill around 3 other people earlier. But who cares about them? There is a lovely bookend to the story as the Doctor drops Lenny back at her home, meeting her wife and child. Her sick child being the reason for her research in the first place. And he offers to give the kid the treatment he needs, given Lenny continues her line of work. A nice and heartful ending. And I haven't mentioned it, but this was a Christmas special. Yeah, the Doctor battling Jack Frost at Christmas is certainly a good summary of the story, such as Frost wearing a paper crown at a point in the story. But I don't think the Christmas theme gets in the way of the story at all. At the end, there's even what seems to be an after-credits scene, teasing that Frost survived if the creepy music is anything to go by. So the Doctor. He gets some decent material and a couple good emotional moments, but does fall in the same simplicities as the last episode. But I think his performance just about surpasses last time. But I still think I liked the first episode of the box set better. Next is Dr. Lenny Fisk, played by Thalissa Teixeira, who turned in a decent performance. I don't know if I love her voice, but that's just a personal preference. She gives good emotional scenes, but a large part of her character is shown off in her anxious ways and her actual anxiety, which was displayed very hit and miss. Some of her panic scenes worked for me, but others felt a little forced, while her connection to her family was displayed pretty well on the whole. Our last memorable human character would be the government pleaser Pal Andrews, played by Simon Shepherd. While only getting 1 or 2 highlight scenes, the character worked well in his role as slightly antagonistic helper, concerned with himself, and was enjoyable enough not to take away from the episode overall. Finally, we have the big bad himself, Jack Frost, inhabiting Kenton, both played by Pip Torrens. Another actor who has been on screen in the 2-parter Human Nature and the Family of Blood as the headmaster. That's 2 people in this box set who previously played headmasters of schools. That's kind of weird. On the whole, Jack Frost was a pretty good antagonist. He could feel a little cartoony and not as threatening as he was trying to be at times. But for the rest of the story, he had a great presence as a villain, showing how evil he was, cruelly, and although not having a great plan, he did have boisterous ambitions that did show us a real sense of danger to our main characters. So, all in all, this was a pretty good story. A nice Christmas special with an interesting, if a little silly at times, villain. Decent side characters, and a nice heart to it. Although this story was apparently written at the same time as Auld Lang Syne, a story that I did like a lot. And on later reflection is probably a story that I would like to listen to again. I did like that one far better than here, but I can draw some similarities, such as a focus on the main character's emotions, and it taking place on a holiday. The pacing of the story was quite quick, leading to me forgetting a few small details from the centre portion of the episode, but I think it was done well enough for you to enjoy it as you listen. I'll give Series 2, Episode 6 of the 9th Doctor Adventures, Break the Ice by Tim Foley, another 6.5 out of 10. Not bad by any stretch, but still not amazing or as enjoyable of a time as I had with the stories last time. Added up, that leads me to give this box set, The 9th Doctor Adventures Into the Stars, a total score of 6.83 recurring out of 10. Thank you everybody for watching my review of Doctor Who Into the Stars. Please like the video if you liked it, comment down below if there's something you'd like me to talk about, consider subscribing to the channel, and if you do, ring the notification bell so you're told every single time that I make an upload. Once again, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!
Toast. A little piece of toast. Because there's so much to choose from. There's brown bread, white bread, all sorts of wholemeal bread. It comes in funny packages with writing on the side.